Do you think being a monkey in a suit would get kind of hot? Because it's a lot of layers on top of fur.
Yes. Oh, I will. And I get warmed up real fast.
Man, animation takes a long time. It's been 3 long years of waiting, but the monkey is finally off my back and on the small screen once again. Hitmonkey is back for more gunslinging, ghost-singing, sword-spinning, poo-flinging action. And I couldn't be happier for this to be the show that got renewed out of the 2 Marvel animated shows from Hulu. Sorry, big head, this show has some pathos. And not that fake Family Guy kind where everyone just kind of forgets the lesson they learned by the time the next episode starts. In fact, this whole season is built on the consequences of the Season 1 finale, with Hitmonkey's former ally gunning for him after he killed her corrupt criminal uncle, and Monkey's ghost assassin sidekick Bryce running from the fact that he escaped hell by making a deal with...
I told you, it's too late to fix the past. And now here you are, reeking of regret. I love it.
You know, they don't say it's Mephisto voiced by Keith David, they just call him the devil, but I really want this to be Mephisto voiced by Keith David. So, you know, I'm just gonna say that's Mephisto voiced by Keith David.
Yes, I did a little freelance for the devil.
The devil. So, Season 2 is set in New York City and shows the American crop of weird underground assassins and the network they operate under. Monkey's mowing down bad guys, unknowingly adding to the ranks of the armies of hell, and then our lovably weird assassin protagonists fall into a doomsday plot involving ancient cursed artifacts being used by rich elites to stay in power, as well as a group of equally strange, mystical former assassins trying to stop them. There's a lot of new twists, strongly written characters, unique action set pieces, and a ton of sincerity and heart this season. Let's get further into all that after a word from our sponsors. This video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is a vehicle-based combat game with a huge roster of playable vehicles to choose from. You can battle it out with over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations, ranging from historic vehicles like biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to modern fighter jets and main battle tanks of today. War Thunder is super immersive with incredibly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and authentic sound effects that place you right at the helm of the most powerful war machines of each time period. War Thunder has one of the most sophisticated vehicle damage models in gaming. Every vehicle is intricately modeled down to its individual components like engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and crew, all susceptible to damage or disabling from enemy fire and different types of armor, shells, and missiles that behave like real-world counterparts. War Thunder has a massive online community of over 70 million players engaging in epic PvP battles. With an unmatched wealth of high-quality content to discover, there's simply no game better suited for fans of military history. You can download War Thunder for free right now on PC, Xbox, or PlayStation. Use my link in the description and pinned comment now to get a massive bonus pack containing multiple premium vehicles and an exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account for new and returning players who haven't played in at least 6 months. This offer is only for a limited time, so you don't want to miss out. Now back to the video. I love this show's willingness to get crazy and stay crazy. It's about a ghost and a monkey going on adventures. Nothing is off the table.
So, how did you first hear about Hitmonkey? Was it something that you knew from the comics, or
Yeah,
did they contact you about it?
a friend of mine at CESD, a booth director, Scott Forbes, introduced me to the comic book many years ago. He said, "You gotta see this," and I was like, "Really?" And I thought, man, what an interesting. I didn't think it was real at first. I was like, "No, is this really what? It's a Hitmonkey?" And so I got into the books, the comics, because he knew I'd love it because I'm a big fan of all that.
It was something we sought out. It was a character that we had discovered in a long lost pile of graphic novels that were sitting in our office one day, and we couldn't get enough of him. And then we found out, like a lot of great characters, it was a very limited run, the original origin, and he sort of made his way into the Deadpool universe. But we were just intrigued by the idea that he communicated non-verbally, and that he was this incredibly soulful character who was also kind of berserk in the original, formation of him. And so those kind of two combinations of high and low were really exciting to us as a jumping off point.
The original episode was, to us, one of the greatest origin stories we'd ever read in all of Marvel. So we immediately knew that we wanted to do something with it.
Apparently my video on Season 1 turned a lot of new viewers onto the show, and a few of the crew reached out to personally thank me for making it. And I guess they kept me in mind because a month and a half before Season 2 dropped, Hulu invited me to interview the showrunners, Will Speck and Josh Gordon, and Hitmonkey himself, Fred Tatasciore, as well as give me a screener copy of all of Season 2. I have to thank them for hooking me up. I really felt appreciated. Now, I know that may call into question my objectivity, but I'd like to remind you that I got a free review copy of Avengers and the Suicide Squad game, and I still massacred those to hell. I just genuinely love this show, and Season 2 is great. And they didn't pay me. They could have paid me, but they didn't. And I'm going to cry and end it all if Season 3 doesn't happen now, so I'm putting that on you, Hulu.
So how excited were you to hear that the show was getting picked up for a season 2? Because you kind of beat the odds, you know? Like, it was a small show about an obscure character, and I was so blown away. I was like, wow, that's getting Season 2. That's incredible.
We didn't know. You know how this business is, especially with streaming and all. You don't really know, like, how things are going, or, you know, with strikes and COVID, and so many things, that, like, you just don't know what's going to weather and survive. And I was hoping, and then when I heard, oh, you're getting to do it again, I jumped out of my skin. And then I find out that Leslie Jones is joining us? What?
The thing I like most about this show so far is how it went from adapting a short handful of stories in the comics to expanding on them in huge ways. I used to have this mantra that you couldn't adapt a comic character into a TV series or a movie if they only had less than 10 solo comics. And that was mostly in defiance of all the terrible Spider-Man spin-offs that Sony kept pitching. But this show proved me wrong, barring Deadpool crossover, as they ran out of material to adapt from the comics by like episode 3 and just took off running with all sorts of new stuff. And what they've done with the characters and the premise since then has been great. In a sense, this is the Hitmonkey solo comic now. All of the lore and the character building you could want is coming from this series, and I appreciate that method of just building on what little was there to begin with without altering or replacing much. There's little things like not being able to get clearances for Bullseye and then having to use a more obscure alternative character instead.
In the first season, we assumed that, like the original graphic novel, we would use Bullseye. And Bullseye at the time was kind of embroiled a little bit in a legal thing with, Netflix, you know what I mean? They said you can use them, but we're a little nervous because we're not sure how it's all going to shake out. And then we kind of decided, maybe Lady Bullseye is actually more interesting. She was less known as a character, but she was less explored as a character. And they said with Bullseye, you're going to have some limitations of how you can use them. But with Lady Bullseye, you can really do what you want with her, and you can, even going to what we did at the end of season 1 with her, we were shocked that they would allow us to do that. That was a case where kind of a limitation became a plus.
But much like using Hitmonkey himself, there's a lot of freedom that comes with a character with so little history. The show went from using Lady Bullseye as a stand-in to a sort of legacy character to a supernatural threat to add more stakes to the action. If anything, I think I'll always associate that character more with Hitmonkey now than Daredevil because they did so much more with her than they did in the comics. Kinda like how Kingpin started as a Spider-Man villain but slowly became Daredevil's nemesis with time. I actually asked the showrunners what other characters they'd like to include if character rights were no object, and the answer is just as obvious to them, too.
So I think it would be fun to start to explore how Monkey becomes more untethered. And that would both be very funny for Bryce to have to manage, but also a character like Deadpool, who is also sort of tortured by his relationship with violence and his superpower. He's always sort of fighting and warring between his humanity and his crazier, more berserk side. It always felt as if Hitmonkey was the more extreme version of where Deadpool might end up at some point. Well, and also Bryce and Deadpool would probably hate each other because they're both alphas that want the attention. It's like two people meeting each other that are too like each other.
You were thinking about characters meeting up with him. I mean, Deadpool would be very much the same kind of thing. I totally see that. And it would be very stressful for Monkey. It would be very funny and stressful, like, oh, now there's two of them.
but I could tell they were big comic fans by having such an unexpected answer to my other question.
What other Marvel characters would you two like to make an animated series about if you had the opportunity and the means?
Mysterio.
Yeah.
Now that is an interesting answer. Mysterio.
He's one of the most interesting characters to us within the Spider-Man universe. He's, a Hollywood special effects man whose career is not going well, pushed out of the bottom of the industry. And that sort of character speaks to us, in a Brian De Palma way. You know what I mean? That he's sort of this very bitter kind of character. So that character's always appealed to us very strongly.
I heard news once that the series would drop its Marvel-related branding with Season 2, but that doesn't appear to be the case, though this season is much lighter in the way of cameos from comic characters. Season 1 had a whole host of Marvel Comics heroes and villains associated with Japan, and considering how packed New York is with caped types, it's a little disappointing that no one of note showed up, especially when things got this hectic in Manhattan in the finale. We need the answer to the age-old question. What is Daredevil doing during all this? I know this is a Hitmonkey show first and foremost, but sometimes you just want to see Wilson Fisk pop by to intimidate our characters with his commanding presence.
Actually, even Kingpin went here, and his legs are even stubbier than yours.
Or some street-level assassin-type characters to battle Monkey with their weird gimmicks and powers. Jack-o'-lantern, Taskmaster, Constrictor, or someone of that caliber would be right at home in this show's setting. Not like the X-Men or Spider-Man or whatever. I mean, characters that fit with the theme of assassins and mercenaries. I liked how Season 1 handled that kind of stuff. It wasn't just random cameos for the sake of it. Those characters were obstacles in the story for Monkey and Bryce to overcome, and it made sense for them to be there, given the geography of the story. Don't get me wrong, Marvel Universe glup shittos aren't more important than just having a good story, but I find that stuff really fun and interesting to see implemented well. When those characters are appropriately utilized by organically fitting them into the context of the show and servicing the story with their presence, it makes for great world building. Eunice is a great new addition to the series because she's the handler for dozens of characters like that and could potentially serve as a portal to any number of Marvel killers and mercs because of her connections. Maybe their ability to pull things from Marvel books was uncertain for a little while during this season's production, so they chose to play it safe and make up new characters to play with instead. Though hopefully with a potential Season 3 they could branch back out into that Marvel toy box again. Hey guys, this idea is for free. If you don't think you can get the rights to use Deadpool in Season 3, try to use Agent X instead, since he's a much more obscure character, but he has pretty much the exact same personality and skill set. He's probably way cheaper to license, and Marvel hasn't given a damn about that character in 20 years, so you can pretty much do whatever you want with him, I bet. I'm continually impressed by Hitmonkey's animation. A lot of the same animators worked on the show Archer, apparently, which is very stylistically similar, being done with animation rigs applied to character art that's manipulated instead of unique drawings made frame by frame. By the nature of its sitcom format, Archer's cinematography, lighting, and blocking are all kept very simple, and for that show it works, but Hitmonkey takes that same animation method to another level at every turn, with more cinematic shot compositions, more stylized lighting, and more complex action. I was impressed by the action choreography in Season 1 and what they were able to do with admittedly limited animation techniques, but this one amps it up to 11. They go bigger, more complicated, more explosive, more exciting, and more creative. A little bit more gory. As an action series, Hitmonkey delivers. Turns out the secret sauce it needed was just more kaiju battles. Who'da thunk? This season's pacing is great. I often complain about how formulaic streaming TV seasons have become, where there's always 1 or 2 episodes in the middle where they lose all momentum to do some heavy-handed character building while everyone's at their lowest point and wants to give up their journey. I get it, 3-act structure, 2nd-act slump, but it doesn't always have to be exactly the same. Season 1 had that episode, but Season 2 manages to keep the plot moving forward through every episode. There's always something new happening, new information being given, a new reveal, and even an important moment for the characters. Some major stuff happens in the middle of the season, and that could have been the season finale in and of itself, but it just serves to escalate to an even bigger conclusion in scope and stakes. I can't believe we're at the point with television that my praises for a series are things happen in all the episodes and the whole season instead of just the finale. But thank God for Hitmonkey's high energy. I wasn't a fan of The Boys Season 4, if you can't tell. Okay, we're getting into spoiler territory here, so just watch the show. I want you to watch the show now, okay? It's good. I promise you'll have a fun time. Go watch it. Please, I really need Season 3 now. Season 2 knew when and how to shake up the status quo for the best results. Having Bryce be a ghost that only Monkey could see was cool, but they did everything they could with that in Season 1. And in the beginning of this season, this language barrier between the three characters starts to become a big obstacle.
There's no way I can just waltz into this place. I take it Bryce wants me to waltz into this place.
So this time we throw in the wrinkle of him having the ability to temporarily become corporeal again to interact with the world and other characters, but keeping his power to levitate objects. It ended up being my favorite part of the season, seeing all the creative new ways they could implement his ghostly powers and have him working to find some penance for how badly he screwed up his life when he was still human. It's sort of like a mix between Deadman and Deadpool here, and it's a lot of fun. Monkey continues to be a deceptively deep character with his conflicted emotions about killing despite being too damn good at it. Fred Tedashori has earned so much respect from me for being able to bring so much to this performance despite the character being unable to speak.
And then we have this audition coming now where they needed a real macaque sounds, snow monkey sounds from Japan. And so I went in and we tried to be as accurate as possible. I tried to be as accurate as possible to the actual sounds of this animal.
What kind of research do you do to prepare for something
you
like
go
that?
on YouTube and they send you some sound, they send you samples, and then I looked them up, and started playing around with sounds. You had a whole bunch of emotions and things that you might say. How can you match those sounds up with that language or those tonalities?
How do you come at that as an actor?
That's when you get into the voice embodiment of like, okay, what sounds right for a particular emotion? If let's just say we're in a hurry, Bryce, we have to go. And then maybe he's frustrated at Bryce. Or I'm sad. I miss my family. And you start to get a lexicon for yourself.
Yeah,
it's
just
like playing an
incredible watching
instrument.
you just turn it on out of nowhere like
Oh,
that.
thank
That's so
you.
cool. You've had such a prolific career in voice acting, especially in Marvel projects. I mean, I think the general consensus among fans of that character is that you are to the Incredible Hulk what Kevin Conroy is to Batman. You were that voice.
Made me feel a little verklempt there. I just love Kevin, and to say that means I'm humbled. That means the world to me.
It's always you, and
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
This new crop of villains are all really unique, and I love the gimmicks they all have, from the living statue that turns people to stone, an insecure sharpshooter, a kind ghost, and these three brothers that have bizarre powers that were once in a boy band before becoming government hitmen. Their leader, Boone, sounds kind of like a really stoned Mr. Robot, and I find his voice relaxing to listen to. I don't know why. With all these wacky superpowers and crazy monsters, the combat in this season has really taken it up a notch from the standard gunplay to full-on superhero battles. A big theme of this season is earning forgiveness. Bryce earning forgiveness from his daughter, Monkey trying to forgive himself, Akiko refusing to forgive Bryce and Monkey for killing her uncle, and the Assassins Cooperative trying to redeem the world by ending humanity and giving the planet back to nature and the animals. All of this culminates in some gripping character drama that hits all the right emotional beats despite the show being overtly absurdist and comedic. Hitmonkey is still able to balance the tone between ridiculous concepts paired with even more ridiculous violence and genuine heartfelt moments. I truly adored Bryce's final goodbye to Iris and the clever way he planned to spend his final 60 seconds on Earth with her before losing the ability to physically manifest for good.
Well, I am just looking forward to sharing this with the fans. I really just want them to see it, and just get a sense of the comedy, the new characters. We've got Eunice, Haruka, Iris, Akiko, and Bryce and the monkey are trying to have redemption. I'm excited to see the supernatural elements with the devil and, being a spirit form, him having a relationship that he has to deal with his daughter. He's got to, clean that up. It's really funny to see. It's funny when Monkey's walking around trying to represent well for Bryce, and everyone's just speaking horribly about him.
He was a bit careless and self-absorbed.
What?
And money-hungry and kind of a dick.
Eat my ass, Carl.
Pretty much just an all-around sad, soulless man.
Looking forward to seeing the character arcs and more fun. I just think we went really psychedelic this season. It's very it's gotten large and very interesting and surreal.
This season took the characters to new heights and greater depth, and while this is a good ending to leave off on, if it really had to be done here, I'd still be crushed if we didn't get to see this dynamic reversed for 10 more episodes in another 3 years. So if you're still watching this part, you've either seen it already or don't care about spoilers, in which case, please, just go watch it anyway.
Well, we really appreciate your support of the show, and it's so nice to talk to you, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was really cool to talk to you both. And season 2 was incredible. I'm so honored to have gotten to see it early. I'm honored to talk to you. And thank you for doing this interview with me.
Hey,
looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
Xavier, I am so excited to see you too, and the honor is mine. Thank you so much for bringing it to light. Yeah, great questions too.
Oh, right on.
Thank you
really
so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Awesome. I'll see you in a few days. Yes, you did.
Oh, he recognized you.
Right,
Nice to meet you.
That was so much fun.
The interview?
Yeah. I thought it was great. You did such a great job, man.
I was
You're
nervous
really great.
I don't really do those very often. I'm still kind of new at that.
It's hard.
If you'd ever like to guest on the channel again,
I would do it in a heartbeat.
That would be really cool.
Absolutely.
I would love that.
You really have to show up for streaming shows for them to get renewed these days. And I don't want this one to just be another weird minor cliff note. I'd love for this to go the distance and make it to like 4 or 5 great seasons and embarrass the hell out of that MODOK show even more. I'm sorry, I really did not like MODOK. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Go check out the game for free now on all major platforms. Those of you who haven't played War Thunder yet, or are returning after a break of at least 6 months, will receive a massive bonus pack including premium vehicles, 100 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account. I always get mad at YouTube for not putting my videos in the subscription box because people will comment, "Finally, Xavier uploads again after all these years," not knowing 3 other videos came out within the last month already. So maybe that stupid bell icon thing will help you remember I exist. If you want other ways to support the channel, you can always go hit up that Patreon for early videos and exclusive stuff because it's just $1. I'm not kidding, it's only $1. Isn't that cool? If just 5% of the people subscribed to me donated only $1 a month, I could make videos even faster and keep my house. You can also check out our merch on TeePublic, or just buy some of my random stuff on eBay. I have a pretty substantial collection of old toys that are still in the box in perfect condition, so go take a look in case you find something you like. And lastly, since this is a YouTube video and you probably play Fortnite, drop my creator code XavierGM next time you buy a silly dance or a cool character skin. Really helps me out. See you next time!